Hi, welcome to Miss Marker's Quilts. When I did my supply shopping, one of the things I got were 2.5-inch triangles on a roll. And the reason I wanted to try them, first I'll show them to you. They come like this. And the reason I wanted to give these a shot was because I'm making this quilt. And if you can see it well enough, you'll see that it has a number of half square triangles. So I got this paper to give it a try to see how they worked. What I was hoping was that I could use these and not have to turn around and trim them all after I've sewn them. So if you want to see how I used it, stay tuned and you can see how the process went. What I'm going to do is start by placing one of my fabrics right side up. And then I'm going to place my second fabric right side down. And I'm going to line the two up. And what I'm lining really is the selvage. And I'm going to take my half square triangle on a roll paper. And I'm going to pin it down. And one of the best ways I found to pin it down was pinning the first 2 blocks horizontally. The second 2 blocks vertically. And then the last 2 blocks again horizontally, making sure that I'm keeping the paper nice and smooth the whole time. And once I'm done that, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine, and using the arrows that are on the paper, I'm going to sew it the way in the direction that they tell me to. The first thing I'm going to do is turn my stitch length way down. I'm going under 2, but not quite at 1.5. And the reason why I'm doing that is so that when I go to take the paper off the half square triangles, it comes off easier. Now that I have gotten my stitch length turned down, I'm going to sew in the direction of the arrows on the half square triangle, and I'm actually sewing on the dotted line. So let's see how I can do with holding the camera at the same time. So here we go. And I'm not going to go real fast because I really want to make sure that I stay right on the lines, because it's important that I do. Once I get to a line, I'm picking the paper up and moving it and putting it in the direction of where I need to sew next. And here I go again. I'm going to do that on the entire piece, and then I will show you what it looks like all sewn. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm not certain that you can see it, but I have sewn all the way around the pattern of the half square triangles, and now I'm going to press it to set the seams, and I'm just pressing right over the paper, but I am going to do it on both sides. So now I've pressed it, so I've set my seams. I have zoomed this in so that you can see what it is that I'm doing. There's solid lines on the paper, and the solid lines are where we're going to cut. Dotted lines are stitching, solid lines are cutting. So the first two cuts that I need to do is I need to cut the two long outsides. So I'll grab my ruler, and I'm going to measure, or I'm going to line it right up with that dark straight line. And once I have it lined right up, I'm going to cut this side. Then I'm going to turn it around. Cut this side. Lined up as well as I can. Then I'm going to switch to a smaller ruler. It's a little bit more manageable. And I'm going to trim the two ends, making certain that I'm right on my lines. And hopefully the camera is lined up well. And then I'm just going to proceed to cut on all of the solid lines. Just by lining it up. And then cutting. Now I want to show you, when you go to separate these, or when you go to take the paper off of them, the first couple ones that I did, I really struggled with. And I think the biggest reason why I did was because I hadn't creased it enough. You're going to really want to really rub your thumbnail, or if you've got one of those small wooden pressing things, you're going to want to grab that. Then what I did was I grabbed a corner first, and I just started to rip, and then I found that it ripped off really easily. Didn't seem to be pulling the fabric at all. It just came off perfect. So there's my half square triangle. And the nicest part about it is I really don't have to trim it up. It is square. My next step is I'm going to take my half square triangles and I'm going to sew them together and make a 9 patch. So 3 by 3. And I'm going to show you how I pin these so that I can make sure that I still get all of my points, because that's one of the hardest things to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just lay out my blocks. And just mess with them and make sure that they're in the order that I want them in. Because I do have some of the fabrics here are duplicated, and I really want to make sure that I don't have any of the duplicated blocks in there. Or at least next to one another. All right. This is what I've got just by laying it out. And I'm going to point out a couple of things that I don't care for. It would be okay if I did it, but I don't care for it, so I want to change it up. One of them is that I've got these two fabrics, even though that they're in different tones, I've got them right together. That kind of bothers me. So I'm going to grab this one, and I'm just going to switch these two around. The next thing that I have that I don't care for is I've got this one pretty close to that one, and it, is the same fabric, so I'd like to move that. So I'm just going to switch these two around. And I think to give a little bit more of a balance to these darker fabrics, I'm going to switch these two around. And let's see how we do now. I think I like that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first sew these 2 rows together. Then after I sew these 2 rows together, I'll sew these 3 together. And do it right down and then sew it completely. Now to pin this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my points. And I'm going to keep flipping back and forth to make sure that I'm really on target. And I'm going to pin it twice. The first pin's going to be here. Make sure we get focused here. And my second pin's going to be right here. Then I'm going to open it up, make sure I've got it facing the right direction, and just set it right back down there. I'm going to do this with all 3 of my rows. And then I'm actually going to head over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew these down. And once I've sewn these down, then I will connect the rows. Double check that one. Yep, I got it the right way. Now these 2. So I do a lot of pinning when it comes to these types of blocks. And the reason why I do is because you really want to get your points together. And it's the only way that I can manage to hold the fabric so that it does. So we'll get these all sewn together. And I'm going to sew the 3rd strip on. Then once I've got the 3rd strip on, I will come back and show you how I pin them so that they line right up. I have pressed my blocks. You can see all of them. And what I've done is the top row, I press to the inside. The middle row, I press to the outside. In the bottom row, I press to the inside again. So these will nuzzle right up to one another. You can see that I still have my tails in, so I need to do a little bit of housekeeping. So I'm just going to clip all of the points, get rid of those so that when I sew it together, it's nice and clean. Do one row at a time. And that is all I'm doing is taking a pair of scissors and just lining it up to the fabric and just snipping those little dog ears off, or whatever it is that you want to call them. And it just kind of cleans things up so that when you go to sew them together, you've gotten rid of that excess fabric. And of course, I'm making a mess on my cutting table right now. But let's get them cleaned up, and then I'm going to show you how I go about pinning these together, because I don't want to lose these points. I want my points to be nice and crisp and clear so that you can really see them. I don't want to lose any of them in my stitching. So I've gotten all of my housekeeping done. They're all ready to sew together. And this is how I'm going to do it. Bring my pins over. I'm going to take, see how I've lined it up? Take and just nuzzle those right together. And then I'm going to stick a pin through here, this point right here. And I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to see where I've lined up. See, I'm off just a little bit. So I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to brought those right up next to one another again. I'm going to stick a pin in there again and see where I ended up this time. I think I'm closer. Yep, see? I'm right where I want to be. I'm right at the edge. I hope you can see that. So I'm going to leave my pin there. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to pin on each side of it. And what I'm doing when I pin on each side of it is I'm actually grabbing that extra fabric on the back, and that pin didn't quite do it, so I'm going to take it out and redo it. So now I can take this pin out because I have completely stabilized it on both sides. I'm going to now pin this corner, and then I'm going to work at this corner. Just going to fold my piece in my hand, and I'm going to open it up and put them together. And you can actually, you'll get used to it. You can actually feel where it is. I'm going to stick my pin in. I think my seam is about right there. No, I'm off a little bit. I'm going to line it up again. Yep, I'm there now. And leaving my pin in there again, I'm going to pin on both sides. And then I'm going to take this pin out and just move it down to my end. And pin that down. So I'm going to sew these 2 rows together first. And once I have these 2 rows together, I will add the final row on. I've sewn my first row together, and you can see I've got nice little points. They all lined up great. Time for the 3rd row. And I'll go about pinning it exactly the same way. And now here's my 3rd row. The next thing that I do is I take it over to the ironing board, and I'm going to set my seams, and then I'm actually going to press them open, which normally I press to one side, but because there is just so much bulk here, you've got so many layers of fabric on. For this instance, I am going to actually press these open. And here is my finished block, and I've managed to keep all of my points. I'll flip it over and show you what it looks like on the back. Here it is with all of my middle seams pressed open. And here it is. I've got actually 3 done. I need to do a total of 4 of these. So I am going to go ahead and get my 4th one all done. So, the process went extremely smooth and easy. I really, really liked these half square triangles. The only thing that I didn't like about them was having to take the time to take the paper off. But what I did was sat down with them one night when we watched television and just folded them, creased from the cut line to the dotted line, and then was able to very easily rip them off. I did not have to square them up again. So it was just a matter of following the solid lines. There's a solid line on them where you cut. And these are the half square triangles that I have sewn together at this point. I had to, make a total of 288 of them. I was able to do all of them in one day, cut them up, and they were completely squared up. There's no way that in one day I could have made and squared up 288 2.5-inch half square triangles. So all in all, I think these 2.5-inch half square triangles are fantastic. They came in really handy, and now I'm off to complete the quilt. So thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And I am trying to make some decisions over what my future posting schedule is going to be. I'm trying to figure out if it should be once a week or twice a week or what it is that you guys would like to see. So please feel free to leave a comment below, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much. Bye.